Hi everyone and welcome to ThomasFan UK, and this is the talking train experience at the Awdry Extravaganza 5. Enjoy!
Right, farewell, Wolf. Hello, my name is Tim Dunn, and I'll be your guide to the world of the Talyllyn and the Scarlowy today. The relationship between these two railways is so special, and I'm going to pause now to go to the tunnel because I can't see the script in the dark.
Yes, working with Tim is like herding cats. I love and appreciate what he does so much, but hey.
We are so very lucky to have access to narrations today on the railway series made by the Reverend Wilbert Awdry, so we can hear familiar stories from the very man himself in the very way he intended. And more importantly, we can hear them in a place more or less where the stories aren't stories at all, they are history. Now here we will try as hard as we can to time this in the right location as we go along. But occasionally the train goes faster or slower than we expect, so sometimes we may have to edit ourselves or just change the position. So let's see what happens next. Let's hear the beginning of our story, the small boy called Christopher.
It's been a few seconds, my hand's already numb.
Come out to this station yard this story tell you how to. I hope you will like it.
Is that okay?
Come and help figure.
Is that okay?
Just up a touch. Yeah.
Transformed Wales into an internationally recognised provider of high-quality slate. By the 1940s, however, the slate had almost been mined out entirely, and the line we're travelling on now was on a tipping point of preservation. Back then, there were only two engines, and only one of those two engines actually worked. 4 carriages, 1 brake van, and a motley selection of wagons in various states of repair. Or disrepair, not like today. The track was held together by thoughts and prayers. We boarded, of course, at Towing Wharf. Hello everyone. When originally built, you would never... Will you be quiet? You would never have seen passengers there. Wharf was purely used for transshipment of slates, from narrow gauge wagons to standard gauge wagons, then from standard gauge wagons onto ships, then from ships all around the world. Now, when I told Sir Handel this, he was at pains to point out his railway on Sodor has similar arrangements for shipping materials. On Sodor, they do still bring slate down from the hills, and the slate from the vein of quarries at Rhenius have proved to be popular, even to this day. Now, this is Pendray, the engineering hub of the railway. Engines have begun their working days here, thank you, since the 1860s. The shed to your side now is the original and was designed for 2 engines. Talyllyn, Dolgoch ran the railway between them for over 80 years, and when the engines first came to Talyllyn and to the Scarlowy, the men didn't know how to make them work properly, and Scarlowy used that to his advantage, so he didn't have to pull the actual trucks.
No, certainly not.
Do you see car? I was too busy talking. Was car there?
I didn't see
didn't see
anything.
it.
See car?
Didn't understand it, did you? So
Yes, you were ahead.
I wouldn't burn, made no steam, I just didn't smoke it.
Watch out for car on the road that side. You might see it.
Instead, they tried again. Remember that?
Or you might not.
Gave her. Wouldn't you well think? At last, the manager said, "Oh, very well, be across. We're not going to look at your salty face. Whatever you are, leave. You're a better engine." Didn't do, General Starlight. That's the big tarpaulin. Covers me right up. all. I think it served you right.
Now, someone did come for Scarlowy. His name was Mr. Bobby. On the Tallaght-Lyn, they also found it difficult to make these newfangled steam locomotives function correctly. The Tallaght-Lyn never gave his owner a look when they tried to steam him. Messrs. Fletcher Jennings, it got dark again, sorry. Messrs. Fletcher Jennings sent Mr. Bousted, and though he only came for 1 week, he stayed for years before moving to Australia. The same is true for many of our volunteers. Now, originally, you might have seen a pendray which you spotted near Car. A cottage stood behind the back of the shed, and in preservation it was knocked through to allow more engines to be shedded. Now the engine there, is what inspired Scarlowy's lean-to in the shed in 4 little engines, when little engines had to make way for Sir Handel and Peter Sam.
Scarlowy was pleased to see Edward. The owner has just bought 2 more engines, he said. He told me I was a very old engine and deserved a good rest. He gave me this shed so that I could see everything and not be lonely. But I am lonely all the same, he continued sadly. I miss Renius so very much. Yesterday, one of the new engines pushed him onto a truck, and now he's gone to be mended. I wish I could be mended too and pull coaches again.
Now, needless to say, both Scarlowy and Tallaght-Lyn would run again. Indeed, they would meet at the same workshops for the first time since they were built. Thus began a long and happy connection between the Scarlowy Railway and the Tallaght-Lyn. The Tallaght-Lyn was taken over by preservationists in 1951. They found that they had not taken on just a railway, but an important part of life for many people in this part of rural Wales. Road transport was not a guarantee, and many depended on the railway to get around. Even though today, you can see we have Car trying to reach us up the valley. The Scarlowy Railway has a similarly community spirit. You'll notice that Scarlowy's memories often are of his friends in this isolated place, and the railway has faithfully served it for many, many years.
Renius and I, continued Scarlowy, used to take turns. We know everybody, and everybody knows us. Whistle for the people in the fields, level crossings, and in lonely cottages and farms. People always wave to us. When I passing the school playground to breakfast, then the children would always run over to the fence to watch us go by. Pleasant to wave, because they think the children are waving to them. But we ain't no better. Yes, agreed Ed. We do, indeed. You take your tourists to the lake, then get ready to pull the train back. We enjoy the morning journey, because then our friends from the village come down to do their shopping. So before every station, beep, 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 look out! People are there ready. Where's Mrs. Larson? Asked the guard. She's coming. Beep, 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 we whistle. Mrs. Last comes running onto the platform. We'll leave you behind one of these days, Mrs. Last, our driver. But we know he never will.
Now, a little update for you all on the Car race. Just so you know, we've had a report from the Car. They are literally being held up by a slower car on the main road. And they are now stuck over on the main road, genuinely stuck behind a slow car. So we are now careering genuinely a lot further ahead because we're a very slow car on the main road, which I'm very pleased to know about. Now, although not official calling points, halts that I'm coming up to in a bit at Hendy and Llacgoch, Sinfal and Tinwalhin, I can't pronounce the next one, Tinwillen, are still being used today by people staying nearby. In fact, I am staying up at Hendy, or walkers wanting a trip on the train. And this has been the case since 1865, tickets being purchased from the guard in his van, or her van, for a short trip anywhere up the line. Now the next major stop that isn't a request stop we're approaching is Ryddiron, which was the basis for Crosney Curb. The station first appeared in 4 little engines, and later stories describe a different look. In the Islander Sodal book, Sir Handel Brown, the owner, writes to Wilbert asking him to clarify the real appearance of the station and the surrounding area. Little wonder, as this is where he lives. Where we see a bridge, a level crossing, and the line travels alongside a road where Sir Handel faced down George the steamroller. Originally, however, the line went underneath the bridge, then climbed along the coaches to cause trouble for poor old Sir Handel.
Come on down, come on down, come on down, you man. Cattle trap, grumbled the coaches. We'll pay him out, we'll pay him out. Presently, they stopped at a station. The line curved here and began to climb. It was not very steep, but the day was misty and the rails were slippery. Hold back, whispered Agnes to Ruth. Hold back, whispered Ruth to Jemima. Hold back, whispered Jemima to Lucy. Hold back, whispered Lucy to Beatrice. And they giggled as Sir Handel started, their couplings tight. Come on, he muttered as his wheels slipped on the greasy rails. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. His wheels were spinning, the coaches pulled him back. And the train stopped on the hill beyond the station. Can't do it, he grumbled. I'm used to sensible bogey coach, not these bumpy cattle tracks. The guard came up. I think the coaches are up to something, he told the driver. So they decided to bring the train down again to a level piece of land, to give Sir Handel a good start. The guard helped the fireman put sand on the rails, and Sir Handel made a tremendous effort. The coaches tried hard to drag him back, but he puffed and pulled so hard that they were soon over the top and away on their journey. The thin controller was severe with Sir Handel that night. You are a troublesome engine, he said. You are rude, conceited, and much too big for your wheel. Next time, I shall punish you severely. Sir Handel was impressed and behaved well for several days.
Sorry for the...
It's totally affectionate.
Yeah.
Do you watch his Secrets of the London Underground?
I don't know. I know he hosts it, but
Yeah.
I haven't had the chance to watch.
We need to catch that, Jonathan.
Yeah, we need to catch that as well.
We do.
Right. I'll be seeing Blue Peter for the first time at the Greatest Gathering. They've just announced that one for there, so...
Yeah, wonderful. So it's the first time in a very long time, actually, since the 60s, that we've got an A1, an A2, an A3 and an A4 all in scheme.
No.
First time since the 60s.
Blimey.
Right, there goes Carl.
Oh,
There's quite a
There
long
he is,
journey to
that
go.
son of a...
We can make this, I can feel like. Yeah, we are pulling away. Go.
There's another red car.
Car, hotly pursued by another red car there.
You don't get very car you like as long as it's red.
Do we have faith, people?
Yeah!
Yes! Go. Now, this section of story is never included in the TV episode, which is a shame because it showcases the challenges faced by Sir Hayden when she first trained to Talent Lynn, and she struggled with the old coaches and the, frankly, treacherous track. And 4 coaches, as we have on our train today, will be considered, I think, a light load in modern times, but this is only because the engine, carriages and track have been carefully and lovingly overhauled over many, many years. Now, you are currently travelling in one of the coaches in use at that time, but be familiar to Reverend Awdry now. Indeed, this train represents all of the characters that were in use when the line was first preserved. They were, when they first were preserved, already incredibly 80 years old, and very similar types exist on the island. So they are, of course, notoriously called cattle trucks by Sir Handel. They are, of course, Agnes, Lucy, Jemima and Beatrice, and illustrations show that Agnes, Ruth, Jemima and Beatrice were bought first from Brown Marshall, with Lucy coming shortly after in the Lancaster carriage works. When the line was first taken over by preservationists, the Lancaster coach had very poor springs, and due to that was dubbed. We hear you, Sir Handel, we hear you. And also dubbed Limping Lulu. Now, despite their age, the original coaches were part of the regular running fleet until quite recently, but now they've become part of lighter duties, forming a key part of Tampa Railway's popular Slate Trail services. Now, Scarlowy had experiences, and many years' experience with the old coaches, but they have always been troublesome, shall we say, when around strange engines. When we first took them out, as described in very old engines, they didn't trust him at all.
Deep in my whistle. There you go. What's back?
Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm looking for cars down in the valley. So is Handel in town. Now, nowadays, the coaches are seldom troublesome. Yeah, though Sir Handel often has to work quite hard to keep them all in order. Now, on the section of line along here, that Dolgoff, the only operable engine in June 51, suffered a major mechanical failure. With a full train and damp rails, she had struggled over the worst of the road from Ready Wrongham and was running around for the run to Abergynolwyn.
There's a plane up there as well.
Alongside his company duties as engineer and general manager. On this trip, involved balancing incredibly on the buffer beam on front and sanding the line for extra adhesion. Not the most comfortable of positions, even on a dry day. But the worst was behind them, he thought. Until familiar chuff, chuff, chuff went out of time, then missed a beat, and then stopped somewhere just about here. A tiny cotter pin had come loose, damaging the valve gear and the locomotive. For want of a metaphorical nail, it seemed the war had just been lost, and Talent Railway suddenly found itself right now, at that moment, with no working engine. Here, in the middle of the line, with a full train of people, just like you, wanting to see what on earth would happen next. Awdry took inspiration for this incident when writing about Rhenius and the Scullow Railway's gallant little engine. Duncan, having stopped on the viaduct and previous, is told off by Scullowy for ignoring the needs of his passengers.
I remember Rhenius stopping in the wrong place once, said Scarlowy. He couldn't help it. But he made not put it off.
That's good, that's good.
That afternoon, he had damp rail and a full train. There were passengers, even in Beatrice. His wheels slipped dreadfully on the steep bit after the first station, but they gripped at last. The worst's over, he thought. Now what away? Come along, he sang to the coaches. Come on. Oh, I've got cramp, he groaned. I stopped, unable to move, on the loneliest part of the line. The thin controller and Mr. Hugh examined him carefully. The passengers watched and waited. Renias eyed them anxiously. They looked cross. At last, the Finn controller stood up. "Our valve gear on one side has jammed," he said. "We've unfastened the rod and tied them up. Now, Renias," he went on, "we need to reach the next station. Can you pull us there on one cylinder?" "I'll try, sir, but the next station won't be the right station. Will the passengers be cross?" "Don't worry," smiled the Finn controller. "They know we can't reach the top station today." The Finn controller sanded the rail. Passengers from Beatrice pushed behind. Mr. Hugh gently eased out the regulator. The train jerked and began to move. "I'll do it. I'll do it." Everyone cheered, but Renias heard nothing. "The Finn controller's relying on me. If I fail, the railway will close. It mustn't. I'll get there all best." Everything blew. He was too tired to move another yard, but he did. And another, and another, and another, till I got there at last. He sighed with relief. "Proud of you, I am indeed," said Mr. Hugh. All Renias remembered about the journey down was having to go on going on. At the big station, the passengers thanked him. "We expected a long walk," they said, "but you brought us home. We'll come again and bring our friend." "You're a gallant little engine," said the Finn controller. "When you're rested, we'll mend you, ready for tomorrow." Was Renias always ready for tomorrow? "Always," smiled Scarlet. "Whatever happened, Renias always pulled his train."
Jesus. Well, it looks to me like Car has been trapped on the far side of the line, so we have priority here at this level crossing because they didn't plan in advance well enough, so they're now stuck on the far side of the crossing for us to go past. So enjoy waving at Car to the side as you go past this, but Albert is just coming through to give us the right of way any second now. But the performance of Dolgok, as we were saying, and news you had from Reverend Wilbert just now, the same is true of Dolgok, and her performance for that very first year was an incredible feat. The makeshift repairs put in place by David Kerwin and Tom Rolt let her run her train for over half a mile up here to Bryn Glas on one cylinder, and here she was run around the coaches to take everyone else home. But David Kerwin's memory of that occasion was very different to the fictional interpretation. He said that lying across the rails between two locomotives of a locomotive in steam is not the idea of a joke trying to fix it. You must become very unimaginative for a time, rather akin in a small way to defusing a bomb. All the passengers that day declined refunds for their incomplete journey, and Dolgok was repaired in Pendre sheds that night away to pull trains the following day. Had she not been able to run, no trains would have then run, and the railway would not have made it through that first year of preservation, and you and I might not be sitting here today. We're interrupting. In all of the island of Sodor, the Scully Railway also would have closed had Renias not always been made ready for tomorrow. Now, the next section of line in the railway series differs significantly from real life. On the Talith Linn, we go now from open countryside all around us, as you can see, and fields, and it goes into rich, green, ancient forests. When Sir Handel first visited this Talith Linn railway in 1982, he encountered a tree branch hanging across the line. Now, do I see Car to the side? overgrown punctures. Now, the incident with Sir Handel up here, with the tree branch across the line, of course, clearly inspired Christopher Awdry, who came on this line many, many times, and who thought it worthy of publication and wrote about it in Sir Handel Comes Home in Great Little Engines.
Told Sir Handel about his tangle with the brambles. Sir Handel laughed. I know what you mean, he said. I had an adventure a bit like that just before I came away. It was a wet day and I didn't want to go out. The driver said I must. Well, we set off. Luckily, the train wasn't very full, so we got on the right waiting. Then we stopped at a station. Sir Handel paused dramatically. Go on, urged Peter Sir Handel. Just beyond the station, continued Sir Handel, there was a steep bit of a curve, but it was wet, so naturally I was concentrating on getting up the hill. Of course, the Green Holiday asked gravely. As we came round the bend, a tree suddenly seemed to jump out at me. I tried to stop, of course, but my wheels slipped on the wet rails, and I ran smack into the tree. It hurt, I can tell you. It must have done, agreed Duke, and there were sympathetic murmurs from the others. The tree didn't actually hit me in the eye, explained Sir Handel. The driver and fireman made a great fuss about it. Next morning they put a bandage on my forehead and a black patch on one eye. Everyone laughed and said I looked like a pirate. Then I pulled a special train, something called AGM. They even wrote a piece about me in their magazine. Sir Handel sighed happily. Oh, it was great fun, he said.
So he was fitted with an eye patch to cover up some of the more severe damage. Sir Handel fitted lasted here a couple of years before he returned to Sodor. Now the Scarlet Railway has its own unique geological features. The equivalent section of line to this one here runs through the tunnel and along ledges cut into hard rock. But such is the nature of this section, this part of the line in Scarlet is known to gangers as that dreaded tunnel section. It is prone to bridge washouts and, in bad weather, requires constant attention.
The winter weather waves. Wind broke branches from trees. Rain turned hillside streams into tunnels. Dreadful to wash along the way. Mr. Human, the man, the truck line every day but last year. Wood branch, paired culvert, and the water could all away. One morning, around bad trouble. Fresh down to the river. Mr. Hume, to stop all train. He could wash out near the tunnels. Traffic was swept away. The men worked hard to repair the damage of the wing. While they worked, the weather changed. Became frosty and very cold. Finished just in time for market. Peter Sam took the morning train very carefully over the bend of Peter's line. The tunnel was short, curved, so they couldn't see right through it. Suddenly the driver shouted, "There's something hanging from the road." Rain. Clanging crash. As Peter Sam and his kids you right. We're at his phone. God round about wanted the guy. That's why children said. They started again. And the passengers broke all of the sled. So when the father saw our face, he stopped and started to tell them. The engine is down. Sam came low. The handle made up a ride. So Sam said again and again, one all over us to share. He went into the tunnel, a dusty old tunnel. Now he's playing first you funneled around. Geez, Peter Sam fled, but his new funnel arrived twice. Oh dear, he said, something washed. He said, come down. Four. Comes up to the funnel there. When you pump, you draw ahead from your fire. Get ready right. Don't nothing. It's hard work. Use his strength to beat the pulling train. You pump a special fire, which helps the air come. It will be easier, so you will have to work. Yesterday, Peter Sam died. At first, Peter Sam's special buttons. The Admiral Duncan asked him why he had settled. They rooted the life. When Peter Sam started work, it was a leader. He was a head horse. Captain, I captain Dick. Just that was working on.
Can you hear that?
Just said.
Can you hear us okay? Can you hear us?
Yep, thank you.
His strokes away with any training skip. Makes so easy. People Sam's funnels now. Wish they had one like it.
The diesel ejector transformed Peter Sam into something quite else. Already an eager little engine, he now had far more energy than before. A bit like me right now, because I've just had 2 more energy drinks this afternoon, and frankly, the equivalent of 8 coffees. And I'm talking quite quickly. So, Peter Sam was able to stroll away there for any particular train where required. And that was certainly what was required. Now, we've just gone through over the viaduct, I believe, and are coming into Dolrock itself. And the views from here are quite exquisite. Now, Dolrock Viaduct, of course, is wonderful. Scully Railway has a very similar viaduct on its own line. And their engine, Duncan, is all too familiar with difficulties you might face when stopping on a viaduct.
I get no rest, I get no rest, you complain. Sulky and short of stick.
Not yet, no. Hello everyone, can you hear everything okay? Can you hear
We just lost audio.
Baby, Polly, I'm overworked, and I just won't stand it. He grumbled away, brooded over his wrath. Duncan made heavy weather of the journey, but at last they reached the bar. This is long, high, and narrow. No one can walk on it when the train is there. Come on, Duncan, said his driver. One more effort, and you'll have a rest and a drink in the station. Keep your old station, said Duncan rudely. I'm staying here. He did too. He stopped his train right on the bar. Nothing his driver or fireman could do would make him move another yard. Scarloey came from the top station to haul Duncan and his train to the platform. Passengers were very cross.
We're just fixing the train again.
First out of the train, told the driver,
Everything's fine.
the fireman, and
Robert
the guard what a bad
Live
railway it
Scarlowy
was.
story happening right in front of you.
Scarloey had to pull the train from the top
There's a lot of
station
noise,
too.
you see. I was
Duncan
fixing the
wouldn't
train.
even try.
We're having a lovely time. How are you finding it? Yeah.
Running up Dolgok steps does not do well for the body.
We're having lots of fun. So we heard you got caught behind a vehicle and a train and a car. Details. So what are we waiting for now?
For you to stop talking so we can get back in the car.
Right,
It's a tactic by Tim. I'll keep Max talking.
Oh my god, scampering down.
Yeah, they're quite slippery, those steps, aren't they?
Yeah, they can be.
Especially if there's
I know,
rain.
I walked up here earlier, it half killed me coming up these, because it's really steep coming up this bit.
Yeah.
And are these the original 5 coaches, aren't they?
Yes, they certainly are.
Now, fortunately,
I have one complaint.
Sir Handel is far better behaved than the hot-headed Duncan, and this has brought us easily into the station with no pausing on the viaduct at all today. You will, however, take a little time each time normally he pulls in here, a bit of water up and down. Now, as we appear out of the station going past that famous water column, you may have seen our television train here out and about this weekend. That's another thing that happened here first on the Tidal Inn. Then the BBC decided to do something very similar over on the Scullow Railway in 1957. Now, in 57, television was mainly broadcast live from studios and no copies were actually made. The visit to the TR that year was part of a much larger experiment. It was, in point of fact, one of the first live broadcasts the BBC did of a television studio outside. Who was the guard on that very first train of a TV broadcast? Well, that guard was Reverend W. Awdry himself. In 1958, when he came to write The Little Old Engine, he had the perfect finale in his head already laid out because he'd been the guard himself. Television, then comes the Scullow Railway. Now, we did like to mention it, we do feel obliged that Sir Handel did not cover himself in glory that day. This is what he had to say when he found out the railway was about to be televised, and this is what the thing controller did to put him in his place.
Down to the thing controller at last. Stay in the shed. Those miles more. Drive on a park, come into the beast. And we got ready to extinguish. Just what we want. The los vehicles, your words. That's that. Yes, Godfrey. You take Agnes, Ruth, Lucy, Jemima, Beatrice. Yes, please, sir. I was hoping you'd let me have them. Duncan shall have a good strain. Rusty, Mr. Hugh and the men can show how we mend the line. Please, sir, what about me, sir? asked Peter so anxiously. The controller smiled. You pull the special television train. Oh, sir. Oh, sir. Peter said. Television men built towers for cameras beside the line. They put cameras on the meter, too. Built Gertrude with wires and instruments. Trucks coupled behind carried their generators. Everyone practiced hard. Just what they had to do. Last the time Kelly, the announcer gave the signal. We're on the air, we're on the air, he said. Roll the heavy train to the shop, where Sir Handel was being ready. Sir Handel did not join their visit. We're on the air, John, he said. Trundled over the bridge near the middle station. Beep, beep, it whistled to Duncan. We're coming. The announcer talked to Duncan. And they puffed over the second bridge to Quarry siding. where Rusty, Mr. Hugh and the men were waiting to explain about their work. Soon they had to go. Peter Sam whistled, Rusty tooted in reply, clattered through the tunnel, rumbled out of the viaduct near Waterfall, rolled at last into the top station. The owner climbed down. We arranged for television, he said, to let everyone see our little old engine. We are proud of him. 95 years old, good as new. Nothing like him anywhere. 3 cheers for Scarlet. Beep, 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 whistled Peter Sam. Everybody joined in.
Now we just going to go past us, and then we'll carry on our merry way to Abergnaw. As Tom Wilkes goes past. Oh, there's Jerry! It's Jerry going past.
It's that.
You're gonna lose! Sorry, Sam.
No faith these children, do they?
The benefit only of the owners. To signify where the proper railway ended, or statutory railway for passengers ended, a gate was built up at the end of the platform now, up here, Abergnaw. And you're about to see that gate, which has been reinstated and rebuilt. And railway series will, fans will recognise this spot as where Sir Handel decides he won't pull trucks and splits the rails apart. Hopefully, our eco coaches will have more luck. Even if they are just trucks to apart.
Then one morning, he took the train to the top station. He was cross. It was Peter Sam's turn. The thin controller had made him go instead. He'll leave the coaches, said his driver, and fetch some trucks from the choir. Trucks, snorted Sir Handel. Trucks. Yes, his driver. Trucks. Sir Handel jerked forward. They won't. So there. Lurch, not, and stop. His driver and van were happy. Told you, said Sir Handel triumphantly. Pushed the rails apart. Settled down between them. Telephoned the thin controller. Came up at once with Peter Sam. Brought some workmen in the truck. He and the fireman took Peter Sam home with the coachman, while the driver and workmen put Sir Handel back on the rail. Sir Handel did not feel so pleased with himself when he called home and found the thin controller waiting for him. You are a very naughty engine, said Stella. You will stay in the shed till I can trust you to behave.
Look out on the non-platform side, you can see the T-Dua water tower, and this spot marks where the original engine shed for the line once was, and shows how the engines were watered by a natural and abundant resource. A similar water column is smashed by flying trucks and flying slates in trucks, but we get ahead of ourselves. And as we approach Nantburn Station, what does Wilbur Awdry have to say on the subject of slate?
Slates come from quarries high up in the hills. Travel down in trucks and steep railway corridors. Empty trucks at the bottom are hitched to a rope. Loaded well to the top. I hate you to remember. By their weight, loaded trucks run down the hill on the empty run. And the strong brakes work goes to the top. Then loaded trucks are running down to the rise. The ropes are very strong too. In spite of that,
Now we're just about to go through the site of the old Nantquernal winding house, an incredible piece of Victorian engineering. You can still see ironwork from the original wedding house there, just to the side of this we're through now. Now, making Nantquernal into a passenger station round the corner up here was a preservation era decision. It meant moving the track away from the edge of the cliff. If you look to the side here, you can see the original route of the rails we put along the cliff edge, just how close this track used to be up on the very edge up here. Now, wagons we hear you, Sir Handel. There are stories of wagons running away down the inclines though, including one where workmen were thrown into the trees and the trucks smashed themselves into the rocks below, going down into the ravine you can see just down to the side of us. If you look up from the platform here at the end, you can see the remains of the old winding house at the top of the incline beyond the end of the tracks. Now there isn't time today to go and look at the quarries at Brunel Lewis, but do go and see them another day and worth a visit. So, to pull in, I hope you enjoy watching Sir Handel getting a bit of a rundown here, but you will have a full break and get down to Abergynolwyn. So get out if you want to, stretch your legs briefly, but your main walk and your main pause for a cup of tea is at Abergynolwyn.
Peter Sam never bumped trucks unless they misbehaved. Sir Handel bumped them even if they were good. So they didn't like it. Paid tricks whenever they could. Peter Sam pushed the empty trucks to the side where his fireman hitched to a rope. Then, another cycling pulled back some loaded trucks. These and trucks waited. The four-legged truck stood at the top of the roof, ready to come down. You couldn't see Peter Sam. They thought Sam wanted to pay up. Faster, faster they grumbled. They reached halfway, gathering speed. Scrank him, they yelled. Now, wailed the empty trucks. It's Peter Sam, it's Peter Sam. It's no use. Loaded trucks were straining at the road. Broken. Crack. Hurrah, 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 they roared, hurtling down. Peter Sam there. He shut his eye. His driver looked round and crouched in his cab. The crash jerked him violently back. Oh, I didn't expect to come by. Water poured to the channel, smashed by violent states. So, found the cab. He spluttered. There, when he heard Rusty answering to Slide buffet. What a... Never mind, Sam. We'll get you out. Soon pulled him away from the tracks. Peter Sam felt the better. The skull was cracked. The boiler didn't. He was glad his driver and father had left. Thank Rusty. Slowly home. Rusty stayed here on the radio.
Now, there's little chance of that sort of thing happening these days. Another incline can be seen at one point, as you saw, we've gone through, going into He keeps doing that, doesn't he? Interrupting me. What various items were loaded up there at Abergynolwyn on the incline, down into wagons, delivered directly into the heart of the town, and the winding house and rails were lifted in the early preservation years, not recently, but are now being relaid again, and we're trying to rebuild the entire incline effectively, both ends, to demonstrate how Tallaght interacted with the local community, because the quarries really were at the heart of this railway. Abergynolwyn was built to provide homes for quarrymen, and the railway specifically for bringing slates down from the hills. But now, as we approach Abergynolwyn, it is time for me and the talking train to have a little break for a little while, and you can now enjoy the exhibition, which is open in Abergynolwyn station itself. Please enjoy the time there, a quick loo stop, and a cup of tea perhaps, before we bring in our journey back down the hill again.
Nice cup of tea.
I'm gonna try to get a brownie if they have any left. Brownies are good.
That's a fine song.
3 years with you, so. With you, so.
You enjoyed your little breather there at the exhibition. We certainly did, and we're having a lot of fun this weekend. I hope you guys are as well, as much as we're having. Now, apparently, the train crew think I've been talking too much, but I am not the only person, of course, who's been inadvertently left behind at the top station. The Reverend Awdry wrote about how Peter Sam, impatient to meet Henry at the junction, forgot about the refreshment lady.
Halfway there.
Every afternoon, they had to wait an hour at the station by the lake. Driver, fireman and the guard usually bought something from the refreshment lady and went and sat in Beatrice. The refreshment lady always came home on this train. Time passed slowly. At last his driver found beep, 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 hurry up, please, he whistled to the passenger. Swelling back in the station. Peter Sam was sizzling with impatience. How awful, he thought, would we miss Henry's train? Last passengers arrived. Guard was ready with his flag and whistle. The refreshment lady walked across the platform. Then it happened. The guard said Peter Sam was too impatient. Peter Sam says he wasn't sure he had the whistle. Anyway, he started. Come quickly, he called. Stop, where the coach. You've left her behind. Guard whistled, waved his red flag. Driver, looking back, saw the refreshment lady shouting, running after the train. Peter Sam was inside. We'll miss Henry now. The refreshment lady climbed into Beatrice, and they started again. We're short of it, panted Peter Sam frantically. His driver had to keep checking him. Steady, old boy, steady. Beep, beep, Peter Sam whistled at the stations. Hurry, please, hurry. Reached the big station, just as Henry steamed in. Hurrah, said Peter Sam. He caught him after all. Let off steam with Ruby. Whoosh.
Now, as many of you know, Peter Sam and the refreshment lady is drawn from life. Not me or my grandmother, but an incident which happened to the poor Reverend W. Awdry. Although it is one thing to hear his adaptation, where the poor innocent guard is completely blameless, he did recall the incident many years later for Tallaght News, and this is part of the article that he wrote, voiced here by Owen.
My biggest boob of all, and one which I was not for some time allowed to forget, was when I left the refreshment lady behind at Abergynolwyn. The lady in charge during my week as guard was Mrs. Davies. She was Pop Davies' wife, and also Bill Oliver's mother-in-law. It was part of my job to see that she and her gear were loaded into the van, helped by the locomotive crew. While I was checking tickets and firmly fastening doors, she would usually stand in the station doorway in full view. On that fateful evening, she was not in view, having been delayed in her packing up by a last-minute customer. To the best of my recollection, this must have happened on the Wednesday, as on that day, during the peak season, an extra evening train was run, and it was important that our departure should not be late. I was so concerned about this that after ticket and door duty, I forgot to call Mrs. Davies and gave Bill the right away. Bill ought to have remembered, but he was probably bothered about the time too. So he opened up and off we went. We had barely cleared the platform when I heard a frantic yell, and there was Mrs. Davies, red in the face, arms waving, bustling down the platform. I whistled to attract Bill's attention, but both he and Geoffrey, his father, had their backs to me looking ahead along the road. My whistling was evidently drowned by number 4's clatter, so I tried screwing down the brake. This had the desired effect. It didn't stop the train, but the drag attracted Bill's attention by the time we'd gone about 300 yards, and it propelled the train back to collect his fermenting mother-in-law.
Apparently, even in this version, Wilbert was unable and unwilling to take sole blame for the incident. Anyway, we're about to pull down to a pause at Dolgoch quite soon. We're going to take some water on, but it's only a relatively recent thing to do. Recently taken on, now taking on water on the way up and down the line, because of course it's cheaper to refill the trains now from a natural resource of the water flowing down the hill here. Via the crashing, tumbling waves and rocks below. I'm unaware of any wagons that have crashed down that side there, unlike up at Melbourne. Now, Peter Sam came a cropper with his chimney at one point on their version CV down a similar area due to a rogue icicle, but Skarloey has also been victim to natural disasters on this part of line. In his early days, he's with a cab, he became somewhat cocky, shall we say, and now so by the time knocked some sense into him, quite literally. I'll let the Rev take it from here. basically alone for the best part of 70 years. Their usual steam engine. In the 1950s, when 2 new engines arrived, bought on the Sodor aluminium works. What they had previously run on the new Sodor railway. Having left Oldon, we now were on the way to Bruglass once more. The roads so section on Sodor where both sorts of vehicles could run side by side. This difference is very important. It was never the intention to create a perfect copy on Sodor, or somewhere the similarities could be appreciated. On this section, therefore, there is an opportunity for a road versus rail battle of Goliaths. We're very fortunate, though, at this event, to be able to present George as one of our visitors, though, let's be honest, he's really Teddy Boston's old steamroller, which when he had him, he named as Thistledown. Teddy Boston was a great friend of the Reverend W. Awdry, and in fact was the real fat clergyman, as he was called in the books. The incident was inspired with the steamroller actually took place in Ireland, though, and we actually include a letter here from the publishers that explains his thought process on this, right here by Owen.
The stories were to be based on the Talladega Railway, its locomotives and rolling stock. But it was important that there should be no exact parallel, because many of the incidents which I hope to use then and in the future were based on what happened to some narrow gauge engine somewhere sometime, would not necessarily be those which had happened to Italian railway engine. In order to be able to use material from other railways, it was necessary to keep our options open and make it clear that we were writing about our own railway in Sodor and not the Talladega, though at the same time giving interest and publicity to the Talladega adventure by making parallels like this.
But on to more exciting matters now. The duel, that spectacular duel between Sir Hamlin George the steamroller, that is legendary. But how did the delightful duel and that legend actually begin?
Where's the hand over the ship? Calm down. Nothing particular. Fine. George, was there still around? Pull them out. Turn them into rope. This fellow here often heard their talk. He warned members to take no pictures. But he hoped that when the two boastful engines met, he and the others would have some fun. Don't worry anymore, said the handler importantly when they told him about George. Leave him to me. I'll soon send him back in. Next morning, George was standing near the hall. Crusty. He said. Yours a handle, I suppose. And you, I suppose, are George. Yes, I've heard of you. And I've heard of you. You swank around with steamroller wheels, pretending you're as good as me. Actually, says the handle sweetly, make better. Goodbye. Runs away. George chuckled cheerfully. Good luck to them. The handle had to bring a special load down after the last train had gone. When he reached the road, he saw George trundling. Beep, beep, beep. George took no notice. Trundled along the Kingston train. There was barely room to pass. Beep, 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 beep. The handle slowly crept cautiously alongside. Get out of my way, you great clumsy road hog, yes. Don't move for imitation steamrollers, George said. Nothing but alarm, side by side, exchanging themselves. No one could ever explain why. George's driver says he signaled for the handle to stop. The handle's driver says he signaled to George. There was a crash. Brake van tilted sideways. The guards scrambled out to find George's front roller nuzzling his leg. The two drivers were hotly arguing for sporting. The policeman strolled up in time to stop the argument turning to fisticuffs. When Sir Handel's fireman came back with rusty, they all set to work. Neither engine had been driven fast enough to cause that. So Sir Handel was able to bring his train up. George had backed himself well. Next day, the workman put up a fence. Really went well. This was because they had finished their work. And because he made George cooperate. Morgan seated the next, talking everlastingly about steamrollers. Oh dear, whispered Scarlet one evening, it's worse than ever. Sorry about that. Good. Never mind, said Rusty. We'll think of something else. But they had no need. They asked Wesley if they could look at the edge. Most at once, one called out, "Look, there's Sam." He raced a steamroller last week. The roller nearly beat him too. It was most exciting. Sam never mentioned steamrollers.
Now, like many classic characters, George the Steamroller only appeared in one of Awdry's stories. Handler reminding us who's boss, I think, there. But he left a remarkable impact on all of us. We are delighted that George has been able to join us now today at this railway celebrations particularly. It's so lovely he's come here, and we must thank the Stokes family for bringing him along to this exhibition and this celebration. We are so happy he's here today. Pulling in here actually, of course, to bring glass in a minute. So look, I'm talking rubbish, sorry, to ready rolling in as we come along here. And as the train came up the line, we went back when we first, of course, came to start his first runs on the line, and very old engines showed some of the history of the line, and that was written especially to commemorate the Talleyrand Railway centenary. And this is what... Alright. This is what happened on that very first run with the railway's directors, and how Mr. Mack managed to bump himself off the train.
You may look harmless, but we'll watch you. We'll watch you. She took me quite a bit. But even Agnes couldn't complain about our upward journey. We stopped at every station, and the directors got out to admire the arrangements. Everything went well. I forgot about Agnes. The manager, smiling, joined us on the footplate journey home. It looks so easy, Mr. Poppy, he said, as we rolled gently down. Can I drive him, please? We were running nicely. Fast rate I just happened, gaining speed. All non-delta. I began to bounce. Manager, alarmed, closed my regulator too quickly and too much. Agnes Papa's clan. He's playing trick. Girl well, looked different. Surged again, urging me on. Bounced to learn. Couldn't help it. Manager lost his footing, grabbed wildly for a hand. Disappeared. Brakes guard, please. The Bobby sees my controls. Stop the train. Get the back. Too late. Way wild. The managers it was unheard. Very quick. I'll not ride that quickly. He said it'd be a The directors complained that they'd been bad fishing. He said it was my fault. Rennie asked me to the inspector they ordered. You stay out of sight of the shed. But late that evening, the manager came. I'm sorry, sir. I did try to be good. It wasn't your fault, Scarlet. Sorry I was cross. Do what the directors say now, and I'll make it up to you later.
He did, of course, sending Scarlet back to Whitehaven for a set of trailing wheels and a cab, and that curved the bucking and bouncing, making Scarlet into a really useful engine for many, many years to come. Now, to Dolgoch. Now, on market day, Dolgoch arrived at the station with a damaged spring. Normally, she'd been sent back to the shed, but Tom Rolt, the manager at the time, made the call to run trials trains anyway. She managed to trip up the line, but the return journey, as we're seeing right now on the trip, the return journey saw the spring disintegrate completely. Imagine, instead of coasting down the line at speed behind Sir Hayden, like we are right now, crawling along as the engine wheezed and clanked and thudded. Each revolution of the wheels causing a clang from the sidebar, hitting the motion bracket. But Dolgoch did get her passengers home, and then managed to get herself home before being repaired to run the next day's service. And Scarlet too has had his own trials to overcome. Now you might see some slight similarities in the story, but it just goes to show how both railways overcame incredible odds to get people home.
After a rest at the top station, Scarlet was ready to start. It would be better downhill, he thought. The coaches ran nicely, but he soon began to feel tired. The springs were weak. The rail joints jarred his wheel. Then, with a crack, front spring broke. He stopped. I feel all crooked, he complained. Cab's torn it, said his driver. We'll need a bus now for our passengers. No, pleaded Scarlet. I'd be ashamed to have a bus take my passenger. I'll get home all burst, promised bravely. The thing controller looked at his face and learned. And that his train waited impatient to do. They heard a horse beep, 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 and road, leg, and clanking. Scarlet crept inside. Tilted to one side and making fearful noise. Plodded bravely on. I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, he gasped between clamps and breath. I've done it. Side back. The train stopped where James was waiting. James said nothing. He waited for his passenger. Then, respectfully, puffed away. You were right, sir, said Scarlet to the elder lady. Old engines can't pull trains like young ones. Dear Miss Swan. They can if they're mended, old lady, he said. That's what will happen to you. You deserve it. Oh, Damn, it's Scarlet happily. So Handel is longing for Scarlet to come back. Scarlet is the best engine in the world. He does his fair share of the work now. The coach has never played tricks on him, because he always manages it Scarlet's way.
As we pull into Pendray once more, it's worth pointing out that Talathlin did eventually move out of her barn and was fully restored. Sent to England to work, the little engine did indeed come home once more, and Wilbert couldn't help but bring that parallelism full circle. We're going to play that. We pull into the station at Pendray, play that in full so you can enjoy it as we pull in, and pause just for a minute or so.
Scarlet is smiling. Very glad to be home again. Thank you, Sir Admiral, for your nice surprise. I'll surprise you. Listen. When I was mentioned in England, I found my twin, the old Stan. Is there really another engine like you? Yes, Sir, chuckled Scarlet, there is. Another engine came to be mended too, called ThomasFan. When the workmen saw us together, they laughed, called us their little old twins. ThomasFan told me about his railway, the lovely one, at Towyn in Wales. Well, sir, they mended us both and sent us home. But I often think of ThomasFan. He's 95 years old too, just like me. Please come and see him, all of you. Wish him dry rails and good running. Scarlet, little old twin. The real engine, just like so. Very, very old. His name is ThomasFan. There's Towyn, Wales. All enjoy going to sea work. The author.
Those workshops, you can almost imagine the driver and fireman pointing at the engines, telling them off here in the yard. But it's thanks to people like you visiting this tiny corner of Wales from all over the world. This little engine and his friends will be at work for many years to come. We do hope you've enjoyed your ride through our little world and enjoyed hearing some of the history of our little railways through the unique lens of the Reverend W. Awdry. Thank you, all of you, dear friends, for joining us on the Talking Train.
mean, give it a try. I mean, you know.